just a saying. When we talk about Cape Brown for prison, you know who's interested in that? The Department of Justice, the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr. He cares, and he wants to know why Oregonians have been under the thumb of government for so long. This is too much. This shutdown has destroyed Oregon businesses. We see everybody struggling day to day.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
This is my fashion accessory, and then that way they can't get me on camera because I'm all disguised. The next thing I'm gonna do is get a burqa. I want to be covered from head to toe protected. Is that the same one the other gentleman is having?
We can be safe. We can be safe without causing any kind of additional spike in this.
I live in the heart of the mess. I live in Portland.
Virus.
They took a beautiful city and turned it to shit.
I know, right?
There's like full on.
You can be safe in a pot shop, you can be safe in a grocery store, you can be safe in a clothing store. Why do they let you buy kids clothes at Walmart, but not at a small children's, consignment clothing shop, right?
I mean, I don't feel like it's a dangerous area. It's just gross.
Once upon a child in Lancaster, they opened up 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And nobody went there and protested and said, shut these people down. You can open safely, and it's okay. The people at Glamour Salon, Lindsey Graham, when she gets here, hopefully on time, I'm going to give her a big round of applause. And there's another gal I want to mention in particular. She's not here either because she, again, has clients, and that's good. Does anybody here know Cutting Edge Salon in Newport, Oregon? Okay, Cutting Edge Salon. The young lady who runs that place, Kristen Savage, she opened up the same time Lindsey Graham did in Newport, and the state did the same thing. They came to her without a big crowd of people protecting her, and they said, you're going to lose your license to operate. You're going to be fined $14,000. And so after today, I want you to go to Kristen Savage's, okay, easy to remember, find her on my Facebook, I share her too. Kristen Savage at Cutting Edge. They're going after her just like Lindsey Graham. She needs support. So make sure you're finding her on social media, help her out at her GoFundMe. Make sure that young lady gets to feed her kids tomorrow because the government doesn't give a damn, okay? Hey, Ken, thanks for being here. So everybody has to remember the people that are opening their shops, the people that are doing this before the phase 1 reopening, they're patriots. They want to feed their families. They want to serve their communities. They're not doing this to harm anybody. They're doing this to help people. You understand that your small business owners are your number one employer. Your small business owners are your number one, the owners of those, they're your number one givers to charities. Okay, your small business owners are the backbone of America. They're the backbone of Oregon. And here we are telling them they can't be the backbone. Well, I'm not going to stand for that crap. And so when I say open Oregon, I mean all of it. Open the whole state, and let's do it now. If you feel sick, wear a mask, right? If you feel sick or don't feel well, don't go around other folks. Wear a mask. Protect, right? Be smart. We're not saying don't be smart. We're not saying don't follow the science. In fact, I'm saying follow the science because the science says all of the craziness we've been going through is not justified. There's going to be a lot more harm caused by this than good. The shutdown has been harmful to people's psyche, their jobs, their abilities to defend their families, their ability to survive. And so I'm calling on not just the Marble Nut House, residents, those folks, but I'm also calling on your regular Oregonians to buck up and open your state. Trump said, open the churches. Who's going to go to church on Sunday? Yeah, all right, good. Even if you, good. See, there are those that have been going. The dog's going to church too. Good. That's right. How ironic. Here we are in front of the Marble Nut House. The first line, a free state. Do we feel very free in Oregon today?
No!
Thank God we're Americans. Because we have the ability to stand up for ourselves, the ability to take our country back. But it's not just this year. 2020 is a great year. We're going to re-elect President Trump. We're going to get 4 more years. This is not the end-all, be-all of the fight. And so people have to understand this is a lifetime commitment. This is a cultural change. When I talk about America first, that means to me your decision-making process. Because I don't care if you're out on your own, or if you're a legislator, or if you're a business, whatever you are, you should be putting America first in every aspect of your life. So when you're going to the store, you're buying made in America, right? When you're coming out to events like this, you're showing up. You're not staying home scared, right? You're opening Oregon. You're not closing Oregon. We're going to open Oregon, and we're going to shut down Cape Brown, right? Hey. So has everybody here signed the recall petition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now listen.
Down with the brown clown.
You've got she's flushed down the brown clown, right? Right now we have other people talking about, right now we've got other people talking about filing new petitions, filing new recalls. I think it's better to have one recall, one effort, everybody join in on it and get that thing done. So
lawsuit!
We only have the one here. That's the only one, the only file, the only one. Sign that one. And make sure that you're telling your friends and neighbors about this stuff, because it's not going to go away by wishing it away. You've got to get out there, hit the streets, tell your neighbors. President Trump is closer to re-election right now than we've ever seen.
I was sticking out my tongue, but then I remembered I have a mask on.
Did you guys hear what Joe Biden said today?
Yeah. Racist!
Did everybody? He probably has no idea what he said.
Xenophobe!
Confused as hell, right? He said, well, I'm not a candidate anymore, so I'm going to grow a beard and I'm just going to cuss. That's okay. Just kidding, folks. The big thing with Joe Biden, if you didn't hear what Joe Biden said today, it was embarrassing for Americans. It was embarrassing for Democrats. It was probably embarrassing for communists even. He came out and he said, if you ain't black, if you don't support Trump over me, then you ain't black. So he said, if you don't support Biden over Trump, then you ain't black. And he even said, you ain't black, like he's actually speaking that way normally, right? He's being derogatory to black folks just by speaking that way. So, and he's talking to a black guy on a radio show. That's the best part. He's on a very prominent radio show with a guy named Charlemagne the God. If you don't know who Charlemagne the God is, he's a very popular guy in the black community. He has a great radio show called The Breakfast Club. I would have gone on there as a congressman just to argue with the guy. But did you realize that,
I go around
Joe
Portland
Biden,
like
you're sitting there and you're interviewing with a black guy about the black community, and your first response as a white privileged male to say to that guy, well, you actually don't understand when this black
cameras can't
tell. Tell you, if you don't like Biden, and you like Trump, then you're not black.
I'm serious.
That's the most insulting racist thing I've ever heard out of a candidate's mouth. Does everybody here think Joe Biden is a racist?
Yes!
Yes, he is.
And senile!
Because all Democrats are racists.
And an alcoholic.
That's just the truth.
And a rapist!
Look historically, right? Joe Biden's just filling out his historical shoes. That's it. That's what he wants, right? So guys like Biden, that's why I say Trump, despite his flaws, has the best chance he's ever had right now of winning this and winning big. Because the Democrats have doubled down on a communist, senile fool.
Flip Oregon red!
He would be exactly there with Cape Brown, shutting down our state, ending business, stopping our reliance on freedom. They want reliance on the government, right? We want reliance on ourselves, reliance on individual liberties. That's what we want out of this, what we call a social contract, right? You give the government a little bit, that's all they're supposed to get. What they've done is they've taken that little bit that they've been given and they've taken more and more and more your whole life to the point now where they told everybody, you can't go outside, you have to stay home. And what did everybody do? A lot of people, they just stayed home.
Portlanders are lemmings.
And you have to realize that people, those are your civil liberties that you gave up willingly. You just said, I'll get a little bit of safety out of it. Deal. You can have my liberty. You can have it. That in itself is exactly what they wanted.
Mary should be here somewhere.
They wanted to make sure that when they told you, stay home, don't buy anything, cut off all your employees. And what did they do, right? A lot of people, they just listened. They're still listening. And so you have to realize that this fight is not singular. It's not just today. This is a long-term long-term war, the battles have just begun. And so we have to remember, especially if you want your state open, if you want places like this to continue to be able to operate in a free manner, you have to be willing to stand up on your own. You can't wait for the government to tell you when you're free again. Because when they're telling you that, you're already not free. Do you understand? This is what people have to remember. The government doesn't give you a damn thing. We actually give the government everything. Your liberties, your freedoms, your rights, they come from God. They don't come from the government. It was enumerated, thankfully, our founding fathers enumerated those in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights. They enumerated it. They wrote it down. But those inalienable rights, they came from who?
God.
This is what you have to realize. They can't take away these rights. These are from God. So you as an individual, you have to protect your God-given rights. And what do you protect them with? You know? God. Yeah, all right. Somebody passed the test. That's why I raffle guns. Because, look, there you go. Raffle time. That's why I do it, because, you know, people go, oh, Joey, he's just the gun guy. All he does is guns. Actually, guns are everything. Yes. Yeah, guns are everything. The Second Amendment, where does it exist? In one country, America. That's it. There's nowhere else that guarantees your rights. That's why all the gun shop guys like me. That's why all the guns that I've raffled off have gone to patriotic citizens who also like me, because we're making sure that they have the ability to defend themselves from tyranny. Did you know that your rifle is not to protect you from deer? Did you know that? Okay. It's to protect you from tyrannical government. That's what it's for. And so when they tell you that you don't need a semi-automatic, that you don't need that size of magazine, or you don't need freedom, you don't need to go grocery shop, you don't need a job, this is the crap they're feeding you. Don't buy it. So it's exactly right. And when they're violating your rights, I don't care if it's your first, second, any of your rights, they're going to go after the rest. So when they start talking about your freedoms from a government office who will never, they're not going to lose a paycheck when you lose a paycheck, right? And they're talking about, well, you're free to go to this or you're free to go to that. You know what that's called? It's called selective freedom. That's not freedom. Okay, that's what adults do to their kids. They say, honey, you get A or B, right? That's what you do to your kids. My kids always pick C. So I raise good patriots, right? I say you get A or B, they go C, Dad. So, listen, that's what we want. We want people to realize that that freedom is unique to this country. There's nowhere to run. This is my final note for you guys before I have a couple other folks speak here. America, and Oregon is unique in our country, but America as a country in the world is the only place that you can be as free as you are right now. To gather with guns on your hip, guns on your front, on the state capitol, and talk about what a terrible person our governor is. Okay? We are free. We are more free than any other country in the world. And why do you think we're going to take that away from you? Because this is the last round. This is it. There's nowhere to run. So I want to know who's willing to do what they have to protect your family, protect your country. Are you guys willing?
Yes!
Yeah. That's what you have to remember. This is not a one-time, one-year, one-shot deal. This is a lifetime commitment to your country, to your fellow citizens, to your families, and to your God, to protect this land that was once so great. And we're going to do a lot better, I think, with President Trump. 4 more years, we're going to get better and better and better. This economy will get fixed, and it'll be all right. But people have to remember that it's not going to happen without effort. So if you want open, or if you want Oregon to be open, if you want President Trump reelected, if you want patriots like me to actually win in states like this, then we have to have a cultural revolution.
Woo!
We have to have the cultural revolution and the mindset that people realize this is your fighting ground. You don't have to leave. Oregon can be great. Our country can be great. There's nowhere else on earth that is as great as America. So will you all stand and fight with me?
Yeah!
till the end. And when we look at this country, that's why I say there's nowhere else to run. Where are you going to go? Canada? Mexico? Right? China? There's nowhere to go. America's it. So if that doesn't put you in a fighting mood, nothing will. Because this country was founded by fighters. That's why my slogan and will always be fighting for Oregon. Because I believe that we're going to have to take on the most aggressive communists we've ever seen in our country to win. And so you think we're going to win by just wishing it away? No. Then you can't just pray it away either, because the Lord expects you to act.
I swear,
good faith, good works. Okay? You have to put in the action required. I don't care if this blows away. I'm just going to talk. If you realize that actions are what will make the difference in your life, in this country's future, then you'll get off your butt and you'll do something about it, and you'll tell your friends about it too, and you'll show up to stuff like this. So the last thing I want to say is a round of applause for everybody who came. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Woo!
Because this is important. It's a Friday night. It's Memorial Day. People want to get out and they want to do a little bit of fun stuff. And you know what Kate Brown said? Stay home. She said, don't go to the... Yeah, I agree, Kate. Go. You go. I'll see you out there. People have to remember, Kate Brown, as soon as they say, oh, hey, we're reopened, everybody. Phase 1, reopening. Don't go anywhere. She's telling you how much freedom you have, yet again. You're free to go eat out in your local community, but don't you dare drive on the highways, right? That's insane. So there's 2 more people I want to invite up here.
All the signs up in Portland area were saying stay local, save lives.
Pastor Betty, I see you over there. Life Connection Church, Pastor Betty, she's going to come up and speak as well. Her church is right across the street from Glamour Salon. And she was out there with me, and we were out there defending liberty, and we were out there with Lindsey Graham, and making sure that the church is awake. That the Christian faith in America doesn't die. You have to engage in politics. I don't care if you believe in separation of church and state, like I do, right? We all believe in that. Does that mean that you don't engage your Christian culture, you don't engage your Christian God in politics? No, that's not what it means. What it means is that the church doesn't dictate to the state, and the state doesn't dictate to the church, right? That's what it means. And so... Exactly.
Yeah, like how in the
freedom
Middle
of
Ages
assembly,
the Catholic
freedom
Church controlled
to
all the
speak
kings
freely. That's
of,
what
like,
these
all of
churches
Europe.
are going to be
That's where
doing
that
now on
comes from.
Sunday. They're going to reopen. And that's what I want people to realize. We are reopening the state. I don't care what Kate Brown says. Do any of you care?
No.
Paul doesn't care. Get up here, Paul.
I expressed my displeasure earlier by picking on that state. But going to the bathroom on that state building. They don't have porta potties out there, and the buildings are all
Saturday actually, in the courthouse, been here at the Capitol. I got back into Roseburg, and as I come along, traffic started to stop up ahead of me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Want to play, sir? Is that better? All right. So anyway, I came up, and there's a few cars stopped ahead of me, and I saw 3 people jumping out and running to the bridge. We were stopped on the bridge. And there's a young girl that was about to jump off the bridge. And I'm just like, okay, 3 people running for her. I got on 911, you know? And they got to her, she's jumping off the bridge. Thank God. And she was pretty distraught, pretty upset. And to be honest, I can't even tell you specifically what it was. But I know that the police were there within 30 seconds of me making that phone call. And I was really pretty impressed with that. And the guy got there, he handled it really well. People were handling it really well. They were talking with her. And I'm just glad that we're there. And one thing I'll tell you about what makes America great, what makes Americans great, what makes Oregonians great, is when things are at their worst, we're truly at our best. Now, the thing is, that's a little bit of a problem, too, if you think about it. It's also kind of a sad thing. We have a bad habit of becoming a little complacent. We end up trusting the wrong people in the wrong period of time. And invariably, well, people with ulterior motives and agendas, they end up taking charge. They start in our school boards. They start in our city council. And they work their way up. And they're like a cancer. Okay? Within the Republican Party, We actually had, apparently there's a time we had a Democrat as the chair of the Multnomah County Republican Party for 4 years until they finally figured it out. 4 years. Let's put it this way, this infiltration, we're seeing this quite a bit across our state and across the Oregon Republican Party. Okay, and what I'm asking each and every one of you to do is to make sure, become a PCP. We need PCPs everywhere, okay? And this is where we start. This is how we take back the party and how we take back the state. This is what we... PCP is a precinct committee person. And there's not a whole lot to it, but fundamentally you kind of represent you and your neighbors. You go talk to them, you make sure you get people to come out and vote. You answer questions if they have them, and if you can answer them. If you can't, you get them help. Yes, sir.
When people like Les Poole started ripping on you and telling you what an idiot you are to everybody publicly, just ignore him because you own him. Because his biggest fear is for people like us to turn around and come in there and start taking things over. These people came in from out of state. They're not even rhinos. They're liberals in disguise.
That's right. One of the things we're running into here in Oregon is that with our party, there's this huge undermining factor that has literally been attacking good, solid candidates, actual candidates with a good history, with no criminal record, you know? And yet, they're good conservative Republicans, and yet they feel this need to attack them and undermine them. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you take out the best candidates you have? I'll tell you why. Because you're trying to lose. Okay? And we have people running the ORP that are literally trying to lose. That is their purpose. That is their goal. And it's time for us all to say no. Okay? So we have elections coming up. We need people to get in there as PCPs, to step up to do that, and then also become delegates so that they can be voting in the upcoming officer elections. It's really important to change that. Yes. Okay, now, just so that you know, I spent some time today with Daniel Loomis. He is the clerk of court in Douglas County, and he walked me through the entire process for the ballots and how they go about all that. And after going through every bit of it with him, asking him a lot of questions, I came to the basic conclusion that within that what they do there, it's all above board. It's actually pretty good shape. There's only one hole that I found in the whole thing. And it actually had to do with the computer system, the software that they actually run. The room is set aside. In other words, none of the computers in that room are connected to the internet or Wi-Fi. None of them. They're totally autonomous. Okay? And when they run ballots through this deal, they actually run test ballots to make sure it's working right. They know what's in the test ballots. They run them through. It spits out the results and goes, yep, okay, it's calibrated. It's good to go. And by the way, after they've done all the actual ballots, they go back and run it through again at the end to test those same test ballots, and they get the same results. Now, here's what I know, unfortunately. My brother interested background in history, and it's given me some other insight in what I know about what can be done with software. I found out that people that maintain that software come out twice a year to update it. First question is, what are they updating it for? It just counts, right? Okay? So that's the first question. The next question is, the truth is that software, even on your own home computers, have things running in the background. Your phone has things running in the background you don't even know about. Okay? So it's possible to actually install a piece of software that can actually have a clock in it so that when at a certain time, they know when they're going to start actually counting ballots. Real ballots, not the test ballots. So, and I pointed this out to them. I said, so in other words, at a certain point in time, the people that control this software can know what time it is and when, and therefore make adjustments, actually implement an algorithm or something that changes things. And for my own race for the U.S. Senate, one of the problems that I had with the whole deal, besides the fact that it was totally contrary to what all information we had was saying about our race. In fact, Joey Nations, do you really think he only got 2,000 votes? How many votes did they actually say you got? 12,000. Okay, 12,000. You really think all he got was 12,000? This has been the hardest campaigning guy there's been, okay? To be honest, you should have got more than me. I think I'm at 110,000.
Handed out 60,000 cards and got 12,000.
I'm telling you now.
Marion isn't that juicy.
He doesn't even know who won yet. They still have not given him. It's done?
Matter of fact, most of the totals are not done. They have other ballots they have to test and check because of people writing things wrong or their signatures getting older, that type of thing. So there's other things they do to check and validate it. And they make that extra effort. I'll tell you right now, my impression of the clerk report and what they do in there is fantastic. I think it's above reproach. Any issue as far as software has nothing to do with them. So, and then when those numbers come out of the counties, they keep a copy of what they report to the state. So when the state gets those numbers, that's it. Okay? So the issue comes down to the only hole in the system is that software. And then on top of that, who owns that software? Where does that software come from? Okay? Now we all know that George Soros has a company that manufactures this type of software. And my understanding is that's a lot of the software we use comes from there. We also know for a fact that George Soros donates money to our fearless leader here into her war chest, which I'm still trying to understand what that war chest is.
So does Comcast Corporation.
I'm guessing she might be planning what's that? Yeah, he donates to a lot of problem children. So, there's other things going on in the future, and we also know that Wyden will be retired in 2 years. So that's a good thing. The downside is it could very well be Kate Brown running for office. So keep that in mind. And as we get through this, for me, I've had a number of people contact me and say, listen, why haven't you congratulated your opponent? Why haven't you done that? Well, the simple fact is if I do that, I, in effect, concede this election. And until, apparently right now, the Department of Justice is doing an investigation into Wisconsin and Oregon. That's right. Due to severe voter irregularities. Okay, so here's the thing. If the Department of Justice announces something, they don't do so based on what we think something's going on. When they announce it, that means they know. They already have the inside track. So whatever that is, they're not going to tell us right now. But obviously, something's in the works. That's a good thing. Okay, so. Well, there's been a whole lot of issues, and the simple truth is this. There are people that have forgotten that they registered or didn't register as Republican. They may have been able to vote Republican in a general race, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're registered Republican, right? Some people don't quite understand the whole primary general election. Some people, it's just primary, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter, I tell you that much. And having good candidates like Joey, myself, it's hard to get good candidates in the state, and I understand that. And not to mention the fact my opponent, to be honest, I feel kind of sorry for her, to be honest. Within 24 hours of, within the end of the day of the 20th, she'd been full-on attacked by the left. Oh, man, it is on. Thing is, if you don't come through clean, guess what? You've just opened yourself up. And the question is, how much pressure and stress can you handle? Because this is only a small dose. This is only a few days. It is a start, and it's going to get a whole lot worse for her because the other thing they do is they dig up your entire history. If you ever kicked a dog, okay? If you knock down your neighbor's mailbox by accident, whatever it is, to find some way to turn that into something against you. Now, you have to understand, Berkeley, that stack is pretty tall and quite deep. And for me and my team, the thing that made me so proud is all the volunteers we have in our campaign, they flat out told me that, listen, no matter what you're doing, we're still here. And then to add to that, icing on the cake, are all the people that have contacted me since saying, I want to volunteer to help you in whatever campaign you're in. That kind of gets you a little choked up, My campaign, I'm going to share this with you today. We spent, since March of last year to now, just under $8,000. That's it. So, what does that tell you? When you have a really good candidate, when you have a lot of volunteers, no payroll, it's phenomenal what you can do. But you got to have a plan, and we did have a plan. We knew that here in Oregon, there's not a lot of money floating around for all of us. And even if you're connected to the ORP, there still isn't a lot of money because a lot of that money flows out of the state into a little place called Grass Fire Strategic Planning Group in Terre Haute, Indiana. And then it just kind of And if you want to know who's running that show, there's only 2 employees. One of them is a big-time attorney. He's like the cream of the crop. That guy's a top-end attorney, no question about it. The second guy is the Oregon Republican Party National Committee, Salem. Okay. Solomon, who is he?
Communist.
Bingo. The truth is, this guy came from communist China. He was a Maoist, and he escaped, they say, to Taiwan, and then he was sponsored by a socialist to come to America. That's all factual information. You can go look it up yourself. And yet, he claims to be a Chinese dissident. What's interesting is, once he got through college, what does he do? He sets up jobs and deals with China. If you're a Chinese dissident, China doesn't deal with you in any way business-wise. They do not. Yet he has been up to the hilt with China. He acts like he's against them, but he's not really.
Send him back.
He's the same man who claimed to be for President Trump. In fact, during the RNC convention, he worked his backside off trying to get it to Romney, trying to take Trump out. Okay? That's the truth. Those are the facts. And he also subscribed to the idea that you tell a lie long enough, and it becomes the truth. Okay? And then it also leads you to another little thing. Every once in a while you run into atheists. Atheist doesn't believe in God. They don't believe they can be held accountable for what they do on this earth. Well, we know that's just not true. But for those that lack a conscience, it's going to be tough.
Trump's dance. He's going.
But once you find those people,
from the wind.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't blow over.
one of the candidates that I spoke with had that issue with somebody that belongs to Tender Unity. It's actually running the whole show. And that person is an atheist. And she has a 10-year plan to become governor, to take over our imperialist leader that you're going to leave off. You know, so know your candidates. Take the time. There's a lot of information we gather from a lot of people because we want to know that the candidates we have are good candidates. And there are a lot of good candidates. There really is. But there's also a lot of bad ones. And it just blows me away that some of these people would even step up into that arena. That is bold beyond belief, you know? And so take the time to learn about your candidates, really know them. Go look at a resume. How many candidates have you actually looked at their resume? Really got a good look at a resume.
Voting records.
You know, yeah, a voting record's always fun too, if they have one that's public.
Look at the resumes of the eight that she went and hired to help you.
Oh, let me tell you. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a new report coming out, a new press release regarding the unemployment office here. And you got the inside track, and somebody who's retired and knows everything. And she is decided it's time to get it out in the open. So we're going to find out exactly why we're having all the problems that we're currently having right now. Watch for Diane Gruber. She is one of our press release people, awesome lady, wonderful lady, and her stuff is bulletproof. And the craziest thing is, she's actually the gay Republican. Oh yes. This woman is above reproach in so many things. She also is an attorney. Pretty proud of her and the work that she does. And it takes every one of us, you know. And we all have our skills and our abilities. And with my campaign, I've had so many volunteers doing so many great things to get us to this point. And it's not been easy. We've had a lot of opposition because they don't want me in any position to hold their feet to the fire. But the best part is, I don't have to do that. I have everybody, like all of you. I have over 3,800 volunteers. And guess what? They're all ready to hold their feet to the fire. And somebody said, well, you know, you got to have all these endorsements. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. I mean, come on, the Constitution. Organ Right to Life didn't support me. They didn't back me. They didn't back Joey either, did they? Nope. Yeah, so here's the thing, what I learned. Organ Right to Life, the Taxpayer Association of Oregon, the Oregon Watchdog, and the Oregon Council Oregon Family Council. Okay? All these entities are all tied together. All those entities are supporting the not-so-good candidates. And in the course of all that, even Lars Larson was supporting us. So, again, you got to be careful who you trust. So somebody asked, well, whose endorsements do you want? I said, well, the truth is, the main one I was looking for was Oregon Women for Trump. You know? And it was men, it's women, it's Republicans, it's Democrats, it's independents, liberals, it's all kinds of different people. And I like that. I think that's how it's supposed to be. You know, we can not agree on everything, but we agree on many things. That's a good thing. Right now here in Oregon, we have way more common ground than we ever have. And as a representative in this state, Joey, myself, anybody, we have to cultivate common ground. That's how we take the state back. Okay. Get back to what I was just talking about. I'm sorry. As we get moving forward, like I said, we really need people to participate. We need the PCPs. We need people to take a more active role. There's a quote that I have from Theodore Roosevelt about daring greatly. And one of the last lines is that for those who dare greatly, it's best that your soul won't be counted with those cold and timid souls that know neither victory nor defeat. Sometimes you just have to step up. Sometimes you have to get in that arena. And you may not think you're capable of things. The truth is, you're capable of way more than you think you are. You know, part of my business when I was in the military was taking people that most people would just cast aside. When you think twice about it. But I had that ability to take that person and go, let me show you what you can do. And walking, stepping through it, oh, step here. And how about here? How about there? Next thing you know, they're all the way over there. It's like, hey, how do you feel? Oh, man, thanks a lot for getting me here. I didn't get you there. I just pointed out the steps, man. You took care of the business, all right? And that's what it takes. Each one of us is capable of so much more than we actually do. And it's really time for all Oregonians to step up and realize that they got to be heard. And the only way to be heard is if you shout out. You got to really step up. So I guess the thing I'm going to leave all of you with is that don't give up. Don't surrender. Except to God. And what you're going to find is this. As long as we keep putting our feet in front of us, keep taking that step, we'll get to where we're going, and God's going to help us along the way. There's a lot of good people, and you know what? There's way more good people than there are not. Okay? So, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your votes.
Can I ask you one more?
Yes, sir.
There was a situation where in the ORS Section 2, it says that a candidate cannot receive more than 10% of outside funding.
Yes.
If they do, they have to give up their position, and they cannot take and go after that position for another 2 or 3 cycles.
Yes.
Kate Brown exceeded that. Now, when I brought this up before, I think I get shut down. But, well, it takes a lot of money. You got to go to court.
Yeah.
How do you get around this? Because she is not a legitimate governor.
I totally agree with everything you just said. Okay, everything you said is true. Here's the problem. We have an attorney general that is quite literally not doing her job at all. Okay? That's a huge problem. Part of the attorney general's job is to hold the governor's feet to the fire and basically put them on notice if they're stepping out of line. As you know, 7 of the 9 Oregon Supreme Court judges are all appointed by Kate Brown. Well, that's another problem. And right now they're facing the dilemma because they have attorney James Buechel that brought up a case for opening Oregon. And he's a great attorney, top notch. And that Supreme Court right now is probably arguing on, okay, which one of us is going to vote no, which is going to vote yes. I'm not voting no. I'm not voting yes to not go with these executive orders. Yeah, okay, you 3 do this and you 5 do that, and that's how. And they're all probably arguing about who's going to do what because they know it's a death sentence for them. Because Oregon's not going to stand for it. They already know the laws in our Constitution. They know our laws. They violated by the executive orders. It's in black and white. It's plain and stamped. And James Buechel, he's argued that, and that's why he won in Baker County. Okay, so that's the first step, really. And the question then comes, what is going to happen with the Oregon Supreme Court ruling? And to be honest, man, I don't even know. I know what they should. It should be a very simple decision, and it should be unanimous. But I can't even say they're going to. I don't trust them enough that that's going to happen. So, whatever their result is, all I can say is this: the day after, if it's the right decision, great. If it's not, then every last one of us need to come right back here. Everybody in this state, and make that show of force because it's the only thing these people really respect. Now, the question that some people have asked is, why would Kate Brown could become a hero overnight? She really could. She could fix PERS just like that overnight. She could do it. And it wouldn't burden the taxpayers. She could open up Oregon just like that.
Yeah, okay.
And she wouldn't really be the hero exactly, but still, it would change her legacy.
Maybe a little less hated?
Yes, a little less hated. But here's the thing. She doesn't do this. Why not? Why is she creating she's poisoning the Oregon well. That's what she's done. She's making Oregon so unappealing with taxes and fees and more taxes and more fees. It's just nonstop. So she keeps doing this. What is she doing? She's making it illegal to be here. And she's betting that we're not going to fight to stay here and to fix this.
The second bigger unit is the one with the big market. Then they have a second unit. Two nights before, the night before, not only the bigger unity, Oregon Republican Party, and Kate Brown says, you better not show us down here because it's going to be our military. Now I came down here and there was a SUV sitting down here, two ladies that were working for Michael Frost. They told me 15 minutes before I got here. Now there's six state trooper cars. They're here, and there's two across the street. There were 20 more in the back. They said 15 minutes before I got here, there was a tactical van that unloaded 10 cases inside that door, and there were 30 state troopers. A quarter of them were Quebec. Now there was only 2 that showed up because everybody got scared. Everybody. You know what? There was snipers here, you know. I come from Alaska, I'm a bush dweller. I lived 185 miles north of Alaska. I got to say that leave me the hell alone. You know, I went there because either I'm from something or do something, but leave me the hell alone. I'm just one person. I turned around and I decided I got
Well, hey.
Sounds a little negative.
Wait, when it comes down to this, united we stand, divided we fall. We need to make sure that when we do this, when it comes to pass, everybody has to show up. Everybody. Okay? The other thing I'll say is this, is that why would Kate Brown want to make Oregon such an unappealing place to live and to be? Well, let's see. We have China moving in all over the state. Everybody's selling out to China. Farms, ranches, the whole 9 yards. During the Clinton years, he actually killed what known as the Monroe Doctrine. And fundamentally, that opened the door for foreign ownership of our land. Okay? Now, you can't go to China and buy a piece of land. You can't do it. It's against the law. Now, I think that should be reciprocal. So what I'm hoping to do is
The battery's going to go low pretty soon.
As proposed to President Trump, the new Trump-Monroe Doctrine, which would fundamentally stop that from happening in the future, but also cause any foreign-owned property outside of the embassy to, no, I didn't do that. No, we're going to put it on the auction block. And the requirement is that you cannot be connected to China in any way, shape, or form, or any other foreign nation in any way, shape, or form. And only you can go bid. And if that nice ranch goes for $5,000, hey, China, here's your $5,000 for your farm. Have a nice day. Exactly right. See, the whole cap and trade is all about China, okay? This is a way to cost us a whole lot of money, sell it to China so China can keep looting the planet. We have a less than 0.004 carbon footprint. We have no issue at all, okay? None. This is, we're in Salem. Look at it. It's as clean as it can be, right? Well, the thing about this cap and tax deal was that it's for China. And Kate Brown has sold us out, the people that she's supposed to be representing and taking care of, out to China. That's just the truth, you know? And right now, we had a Department of Justice make a statement also about that. Remember I said the Attorney General Barr, he doesn't say anything unless he's already got something, okay? So what did he say about the West Coast governors? For those having excessive dealings with China, we will be checking that out, which means we already have checked it out. We already know this, and we're coming, okay? So that's putting her on notice, but the truth is, she's all in. She can't pull her money out of the pot. She's already taken her money from China. And that's where, well, we need real justice. We need Attorney General. As you know, we do have only one Attorney General that's on the ballot for the Republican Party. It's Michael Cross. He was involved the first time Kate Brown, and I will tell you something. That whole petition would have worked if the ORP had not done the second petition. It would have worked. And it was a great team of people, and they literally were accomplishing it for almost nothing. However, I also know that Michael Cross was actually looking to make some money off the deal. I know that for a fact, not an opinion. I know that for a fact. I was kind of a little bit behind the scenes because I wanted it to succeed, and I was doing everything I could to help it, keep it together, to drag everybody across the finish line if that's what it took. And when he actually took what he had to the Capitol, I told him, I said, I don't care if you're short. You have to take them to the Capitol. You have to turn them in and let them do a basic count. You have to let them do it. You have to do that on behalf of all the people who signed that petition. And I told the same thing to Bill Curry. You know what Bill Curry did? He didn't do it. He knew because if he did, there would be a real number out there. But the truth is, I know the real number. I already got that information a long time ago. I had both of them. That real number is only 128,000 signatures. The ORP petition was not even close. They claimed they had 258,000. Not true. Okay? 128,000. They were way, way off. Now, the Flush Out Cape Brown ended up with 238,000. And if both had actually worked together on the first petition, the one that Flush Out Cape Brown was advertised since like April, okay, it would have worked. But the problem we run into is that certain groups are looking for data mining and asking for donations. And you've heard it, we're going to start the petition at this point, this date. Oh no, we're going to do it at this date. It keeps moving. Next thing you know, it's like, well, we don't have enough money. We need more money. We need more volunteers and more money. And we need to send it to you. Okay, listen, if I can run the federal U.S. Senate campaign on $8,000 over a period of, what, a year and 3 months? Yeah, I think you can do it for almost for free. Well, the group that's actually running it now, let me tell you something. Once we found out who they were and we vetted them, we wanted to know and make sure this is going to be okay. Mike Ross has got a history. Well, this person, we have her history. Her name's Kelsey Massey. She is a veteran, a decorated veteran. This person was the right person for this. No question about it. And they're doing the job. And based on the outpouring, the people that have joined the page, the people that are downloading the petitions, the one-liners and 10-liners, we're talking, they're projecting over 500,000 signatures. And one of our candidates, Joe...
I'm going to end the video soon because I only got like 10%.
Yeah. Anyway, Joe, the petition, the signatures he's gotten, half of them were registered Democrats. Half. Wow. Let me tell you what. They want it gone as much as we do. Okay? Then the other question, of course, is who's going to replace them. So that's still a question to be answered later on. But the thing I would recommend is this. Don't vote for any swamp people out of the ORP. There's a lot of bad ORP leadership that I just do not trust. And they've literally been choking the party to death for the better part of 17 to 20 years. But there are great people within the county Republican parties. Okay? So keep that in mind. Don't write them all off. There's a lot of good people, and we got to inspire and motivate them to step up and represent us. And like I said, get involved with PCPs. Work your way up that chain, too. Just remember this. You represent everybody. You're not there for power. You're not there for money. You're there to volunteer and help the best you can. Even if it's only for a short time, step up and do your part. And then hand it off to the next person so they can do a good job, too. It should be. And right now, they claim that our current Secretary of State, she was appointed, and therefore somehow she wouldn't be the one. However, I think there's legal argument to say no, whether she's appointed or not, she would still be in the governor's spot, at least temporarily. And then a special election would be held. And then, like I said, the question is, who do we throw into that mix? Again, we have to have good qualified people that we know will represent all of us. And I mean all of us. Democrats too. Like I said, we have a lot of common ground. That's what we need to focus on. That's how we need to rebuild Oregon, cultivate that common ground. So that's where we stand, and that's the right thing to do. It's not to just take over and say, okay, all of you, we didn't like you in the first place. You guys helped screw up the state, so we're just going to cast you off. No. We're all Oregonians. We all experience the same pain. And right now, with the Democrat Party as a whole, even the progressives, they're experiencing the same pain you and I are. It's no different. They're just starting to realize, well, maybe the socialism thing isn't such a good idea. We've had a small dose of it. So anybody here cured of socialism?
Yeah.
I am. Oh, yeah, I'm fully cured. Okay, maybe a little hang-up, I don't know, but now, not even a question. So, any questions? Yes, let's.
Save your questions
Yes.
for Paul for after. Okay. Adrian Wakefield, get up here. Hey, get up here. So I want to introduce her really quick. So if you guys don't know Adrian, and round of applause for Paul Romero, everybody, please.
Woo!
So I want to introduce Adrian really quick. She's married to that guy, Joe Wakefield, right there. Now, the Wakefields, the reason why I wanted Adrian to say a few words is because this guy right here, her husband messaged me a couple of weeks ago when Glamour Salon was first kind of happening, and Lindsey Graham needed support, and he messaged me, and he said, Joey, I need you down there with me. I'm going to go down there. Will you be there? And so I showed up, and we met a lot of great people, and we talked to the news, and we had really, I think, a very eye-opening experience for a lot of folks. And so it's patriots like the Wakefields who remind people like me and people like Paul and anybody else out there who wants to make a difference. People like them remind you that it's the action that matters. It's not just words. It's not just yakking. When he said, I'm going to be there, will you be there? I figured, well, I better get there, right? So I showed up, and he was there, and I was there, and it turned out to be a beautiful thing. Lindsey Graham has now a huge crowd of supporters standing up for her. So Adrian and Joe and people like them, that's why I run, that's why this stuff happens, because folks take action. So thank you for being here, and thank you for speaking to us.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet all of you. I'm usually quiet with all of my actions and things like this, but this is important. You know, 2 months ago, we were told to flatten the curve. So, in good faith, knowing full well we had no legal obligation to do so, we shut down. Our stores and our churches were left empty. Our bars, parks, and our highways were free and clear. That part was pretty nice, to be honest. Yeah. We would deplete some or all of our savings, but it was only for 2 weeks. We could do it, and we did. We flattened the curve. Okay, fast forward to May 2nd, 6 weeks later, and Oregonians were sick of it. We defied the stay-at-home order. We stood here in the pouring rain, and we told this government that we were done being dictated to. No more. I have spent nearly every day since May 2nd communicating with people across the state. Churches, restaurants, bars, salons, and even racetracks. The overwhelming majority are still afraid of this government. They are more afraid to lose a license or pay a fine than they are of a bankrupt, totalitarian state. They are unwilling to fight for the American way of life. My husband stood and marched in front of Glamour Salon in Salem for 2 days with a handful of the strongest Americans the Pacific Northwest has to offer. The numbers only grew. He stood there with a brave coalition in Washington. They were organizing and fighting behind closed doors. They were offering illegal, underground church services. Think about that phrase for a moment in the United States of America. And they do an American Salvation service on Monday. But there are so many people right here in the state who are not fighting. They're just waiting for strong men and women like you to open this state and show them that the American spirit is not dead here in Oregon. To show that no matter how hard this government comes down on them, we will support them. We will spend our money, we will carry our signs, and we will stand firm in the face of a fascist, strong-arm tactics of the government. That is my pledge to Oregonians. No matter how far, no matter how long, we will stand with them. I hope all of you will too. We can't take this any longer.
Adrian Wakefield has a story writing future or something, because I think people don't realize how passionate people have to be to show up. And so that has been an eye-opening experience for me, at least, is to show fellow Oregonians that you don't just have to be a candidate like me or Paul to show up. You got to be just a person, an American citizen who will show up and voice your opinion, because eventually you're going to be the candidate, Adrian. So that's the kind of people that you have to take advantage of your ability to show up. That's a huge deal. So another lady who showed up, before I go on speaking too much, I want to bring up Betty. Now, Betty was from, come on over here, come here. Now, say hi to Betty. I met Betty 2 weeks ago at Glamour Salon. So here we have one of the patriots who just showed up to support Lindsey Graham and to show up and support
I have
your
to end this really
freedoms, your
soon
rights
because I
as
only got like
Americans.
7%.
Was it her responsibility to do that, or did she just
No,
go over there?
I didn't bring my charger,
Went,
but
right?
you have
It's
the
not her responsibility. It's not her
the
job.
bit that goes on it,
But when
right?
she saw what was
Or did you
happening
give that to
across
Brian?
the street there at the church,
Keep
she knew
recording.
that
I'll
she
go
had
get
to come
my
over
camera.
and talk to us.
Okay.
And she prayed with us. So I'm going to ask Betty to do two
Yeah.
things for us. I'm going to ask her to share her experience and whatever wisdom
I'm gonna
she has to
turn the
depart us
video
with.
on after
And I want her
her,
to say our
after
closing
what she
prayer.
has to say.
And then I'm going to ask everyone to take a picture with me at that
I
freaking
should.
awesome Humvee down there, okay? All right. So, Betty, everybody.
So I think he's wrong on one point.
Here.
It was my responsibility.
I was thinking that.
I'll be wrong.
See, my father was an immigrant. Can I do this? Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
He immigrated from Yugoslavia. It was a communist country with 11 brothers and sisters. After that, World War II broke out, and he and his brothers and one of his sisters served without being citizens. They served 4 years overseas because he knew what it was to be free. And his family believed in that. My grandmother had 5 gold stars in her window. She sold war bonds. She did without. I grew up to teach civics to homeschoolers, and I took the very first homeschool group to the We the People program, 12 to 16-year-olds, and we went to the competition and won against 18-year-olds. All 18, because my homeschoolers knew where their rights came from. And their rights don't come from the Constitution, they come from God.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff being thrown around out there, and it's very divisive, and I don't like it. The church should not be divided on this issue. The church should not be divided on anything, because we believe that God came to heal. We believe that he came to restore us. And so we shouldn't be divided, and we shouldn't be saying, that's not Christian. That's not Christian. We should have grace for one another. And it breaks my heart to see what is happening. But I'm hearing bandied about that it was said in the scriptures, you have to obey the law. We are told in the Bible to obey the law. But in Acts 5:29, Peter and the other apostles replied, we must obey God rather than human beings. Peter was a rash person. What if he would have stood on that boat when Jesus put his hand out and said, come out on the water, and he would have said, oh, I'd love to, Jesus. I'd love to. Do you have a plan? Do we have phases for this? What if, when Jesus was going out to the lepers, they would have said, but Jesus, you're closer than 6 feet, and you don't have on a mask. There are people in hospitals. I have a friend in the hospital with COVID, on and off a ventilator. I can't go and pray over him. That's not okay. That is not okay, because I would take the risk to pray over that man. And I should be allowed as an American to take that risk if I so choose.
Yes.
So remember that this is your responsibility. Every American is not, just like I say, it's not your pastor's job to grow your church. It's not, by the way. Not my job. That's your job. It's not these people's job to run the state. You're supposed to tell them what you want, and they're supposed to represent your needs. We, the people, have to do the work, so we need to go do the work. And we need to open up. And we need to take care of our people in our churches so that our suicide rate and our domestic violent rate can come down. I work with trafficked women, and the stories that I hear every day. I thought that I worked in the worst field for seeing tragedy and awful things. But I'm telling you what these women are going through right now. I have one that can't wear a mask. She can't because she was bound for years. And she was made fun of at a store because she didn't have her mask on. We have to have mercy as Christians. We have to have mercy as Christians. Shall we pray?
Real quick, this is important. So, this is my lovely wife, and I'm very proud of her, number one. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was your wife. That's okay. Number two, I'm a United States Navy veteran. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Memorial Day weekend means the world to me. I lost 6 brothers in a shipboard fire on a ship that I was stationed on. And I had just transferred to the USS Missouri about 6 months prior. And it killed me to not be able to go be with them and their families. And I was in that same repair team that died. So as we go into Memorial Day weekend, please remember those 6 men. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lawana Sexton, and I actually opened my salon a month ago. In that time, I have not gotten any assistance from the government in any way. And at 7 weeks, I knew I could not go any longer to let my bills get behind because I did not want to become homeless. And unfortunately, in our country, we are divided. And that is exactly what they want. Yep. They want us to not stand together. They want us to give in. We cannot. Enough is enough. And I want to let you guys know that every single one of those officials has been sworn into one oath. Yep. And that oath is all government officials endowed by our Creator to protect our rights, protect our borders, protect our coin money. They have no legal authority to do what they are doing.
That's right.
Yep. I have had OSHA called on me twice. And before I even opened up my salon, I knew that I needed to contact the appropriate channels. So I made a request to our county sheriff, and I asked him if he was going to live up to his oath that he was sworn into office for. And his response was that he was not going to do anything, but he would direct to the right channels to come after me. Second of all, I checked with State Board, and State Board, because I pay for my licenses, I went to school. I got educated on how to prevent diseases. Every single one of us that are in the beauty industry have. We know how to stop HIV and tuberculosis. You can come into our salon safely and know that you are not going to get anything. Also, I talked to OSHA, but when I called the federal OSHA. And on their voice recording, while you're on hold, they actually say they will not enforce state mandate to stay at home. So one of my friends that is also in the beauty industry called. And she actually got on the phone with a real life person, because when I heard it, I was like, that's good enough for me. So she called, and they told her that they would go after her. So I got on the phone when I was working my very first day with my first client, which was my last client, I have to say. And I called them up, and I waited for them to get on the line. He got on the line, and I explained to him, I have already heard your message that says on your voice recording that you will not go after anybody for opening up. And he said, I'll send you an email. That email said absolutely nothing. It didn't say anything about whether it was black and white, yes or no, because that's what I wanted. So then he transferred me to State OSHA, and I left them a message. And on that recording, he called me back. And I will play you guys the message that he left me, because I have saved it as soon as I get my phone unlocked.
What's the name of your salon?
Nails by Lawana.
Nails by Lawana. I normally don't get my nails done, but I might be thinking about it, okay?
And I just want to say that I believe in America, and I believe in our people.
The battery's about to die, darn it.
Where is your shop?
My shop is located down at the Reed Opera House.
Okay, downtown. All right. Here. You guys speakerphone?
Can you guys hear that?
No.
Want to use my bullhorn? Yeah.
Proprietor.
There we go.
You are not under OSHA jurisdiction if you do not have workers' comp coverage on your
Which none of us do.
So it's probably not going to be OSHA that comes to visit you if you are a sole proprietor without workers' comp and you have no employee status. I hope that answers your question. If not, give us a call back.
So I'm having to end this video because I'm out of
I'm open
battery.
for 2 days.